Hi, all you SPMEs out there. Today's question has 3 answers, and you're going to want to stick around because the third answer is the thing that makes the difference when it comes to author-published books. Whether the winners or the losers, that third answer is going to tell you exactly what it is that makes the difference. Now, let's get into it. The question that was sent in today was, should you consider an author-published book? Now, the person who wrote this is clearly wondering a little bit about whether or not it is worthwhile to publish a book themselves. You're a writer or an author, but you want to get your book out into the world and you want to find an audience. But the problem is there are too many different options available when it comes to publishing your book. Do you try to go for traditional publisher, or do you try to do a hybrid, some sort of a vanity publisher, or do you try to self-publish? And if so, which platform do you choose? And the overwhelm results in you doing absolutely nothing. And this is a all too common problem for many authors, and this is what we are going to answer in today's video. This is Chris Baird from self-publishingmadeeasynow.com, where self-publishing doesn't have to be so hard. If you find this video helpful, hit the subscribe button because I want to help as many people, many authors, get their books into the world as possible. And check out below in the description because you will find my free self-publishing checklist that will help you make sure you are not skipping any of the steps to make as much money off of your books as possible, the ones you've published, or to help you get it published in the first place. So let's get into it. When I first got started, I had written my very first book. And like so many authors, we wonder, will I be able to sell it? Is it possible to get this book to sell? The problem I found was that there are 15 different platforms that people kept on commenting on where I could put the book onto those different platforms. That's even just a small section. There may have actually been closer to about 20 or 30 different ones that come up, different podcasts and books and YouTube videos and blogs and Facebook groups. Everybody's commenting on different locations and different ways to go about doing it. The end result is a feeling of complete overwhelm. And that was what I had reached. I was trying to figure out what exactly is the correct choice. But then a self-publishing expert pointed out, and that was back in the day before I'd even published my very first book. I was just getting it out. They pointed out that you should choose the top returning platforms. That is always thinking strategically here. Our goal is not to get it on every platform. It is to get it on the ones that will give us the highest return on investment. And this is what they suggested. And so I looked a little closer and I discovered that there is a strategy here to avoid the overwhelm. Well, maybe not completely, but to help with this entire process. And the answer is your first place is Kindle Direct Publishing. I have a number of students I'm in contact with right now who are continually wondering, well, maybe I should do this and what comes after that? And they get very confused with all of the things and the different options. And I tell them, stop doing everything until you get your first book out onto Kindle. So that's your first starting point, Kindle Direct Publishing. Then Kindle Print, then KDP Print is the next one, your print version. Then your hardback version on Lulu. And then on Ingram Spark, you can get another paperback version and an ebook version of your book, and Smashwords is another ebook. Now you might be wondering, why would you go through all of these? And the answer is, it's because each one of them hits a different audience, and there is some overlap, but some people like to read their book on their Kobo or on their app, on their iPhone, or whatever it might be. That these different devices around the world, so they sell differently. And you can see that there's an awful lot of choices, but this is the correct choice. And one of the key issues there was just choosing one at a time. So we start with Kindle. So if you were to ask me below in the comments, where should I start with publishing? I would tell you, do you have your Kindle book out? And if you don't, then I would say you need to get your Kindle book out. And if there's any issues, you just let me know and I can help explain how to work around it. And there's a whole bunch of them, like how can you do it for free or these other things. You always can just ask below. I will let you know. And so the issue is, should you consider an author-published book? Well, the first is yes. It's the number one way to succeed. It's exactly the route that I took, and I have not looked back since that point compared to all of the people who've chosen other routes, whether vanity publishers or traditional publishers. This is by far the winning route, especially for an author or an aspiring author. You want to get published. It's the easiest way to go about doing it, that costs you the least amount of money and will make you the most amount of money. So without a doubt, this is the route you should be considering if you haven't already jumped in. The second thing is you don't need to be overwhelmed. I felt that overwhelmed. Maybe you feel that as well. And the thing is, you need to do one thing at a time so that you do not get that overwhelmed, and you will always do what gives the highest reward. That is, which one is the most strategic choice. So let's say in this example, you want to get the Kindle book out. So for the people who I've been helping, one of the first things is, and you know this would be obvious, it would be you need to set up a Kindle account. But then the question is, well, where do I do it? Well, you need to go to kdp.amazon.com and you need to log in and set up the account. And we do one thing at a time. We do not do all of these different things, and there's no need to be overwhelmed because we're simply focusing on the one thing that comes up next and the most strategic step. I learned this originally from Get Things Done method with, I think it was David Allen, who was the one who had this particular book. It's a very powerful concept to prevent the overwhelm sensation, which is break things down and just look at what is that next task. But the third answer is the difference between the winners and the losers when it comes to self-published books or author-published books, and that is that you need to dedicate time each day to the next step. And I hope the next step is strategic. We're not going for busy work or more research or whatever it might be that so many people convince themselves is moving the needle, when in reality, it's just delaying them actually getting the book out. And when we don't see sales and we don't get the book out and we don't feel that progress, that great feeling of knowing we're succeeding at this, that leads to demotivation, and maybe we never get our book out at all. And that happens way too many times with way too many first-time authors, and I do not want to see this happen to you. So do yourself a favor and start with Kindle, set up the account, use a certain amount of time. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 1 hour? Don't kill yourself on this, but go very slowly and make sure that you're able to get that book onto the market. And that is the secret between the winners and the losers when it comes to author-published books. So have you published your first book, or a book at all? If you have, I want to know so that I can make sure I'm making these videos to the right audience. So write the word yes below if you have published your very first book. And if you've never published the book, you've maybe written it, but you've never published it, then write the word no below in the comments so that I can know, and it will help others as well get a basic feel of how many people are doing what within the audience. And check up above me here for more video answers to your self-publishing questions. Thanks.